Hello everyone and welcome to my next adventure. So today I'm really excited because I've left Kootenai National Park where I've been staying for the last little while. And I figured with my last day left in the Rockies before I have to get back home, I would drive 2 hours up to Yoho National Park. So here I am at Emerald Lake. So Emerald Lake is super famous because it's kind of like BC's Lake Louise or Moraine Lake. It's absolutely stunning, and you can see here how busy it is. There is lots of free parking, so that's also a nice perk, but it is absolutely gorgeous, and lots of people will come here because it's, like I said, it's kind of like BC's Lake Louise. So what I'm doing right now is the loop around the lake, but I'm only going to do the half of the loop first, and then I'm going to trek up to Emerald Basin, and then I'm going to finish the loop. So we got a big trail ahead of us, very long but very exciting. So of course I'm taking a little detour here to get nice and close to Emerald Lake. It's about 8:30 a.m. right now. You can see it's a little bit foggy, but the views are still gorgeous. You can see that mountain reflection in the lake, the sun reflection too. So I'm just getting back onto the main trail here. So to give you a little bit of perspective, Emerald Lake, where I am in BC, is right along the Alberta border, so I'm only about 30 minutes away from the famous Lake Louise in Banff National Park. But for me, where I'm staying in Radium Hot Springs, this was actually a 2-hour drive from me, so it's closer than some of the other places I was going to. But Yoho Park is up further and more towards Banff National Park, so it's a little bit different direction than where I had been driving to before for some of my hikes. So you can see I'm starting to get towards the back of Emerald Lake, following this loop around the big, beautiful green lake that we see. Thank you. I'm just getting you some nice views, a very beautiful, calm day. Again, going to take a little detour here to get close to the lake, as close as I can. I'm always willing to trek through some vegetation while being careful because I don't want to destroy any natural habitats and ecosystems. But look at those views. You can see it's very, very busy today. And like I said, I got here about 9 a.m., maybe 8:30, and it was absolutely packed. The parking lot was almost full. I was pretty lucky to find one of the last spots when I got here. So if you're planning on coming to Emerald Lake, definitely get here early. By the time I had parked and already started making my way into the main area, people were starting to park down the road because the parking lot was full. So definitely try to get here before 9 a.m. It's super, super busy. And it also gets busy, one, because like I said, the lake is very, very accessible. Unlike a place like Moraine Lake in Banff National Park where you can only be shuttle bused in, this lake here, Emerald Lake, you can drive in. So it's very accessible. The parking is free, but also it's super busy because there is an Emerald Lake Lodge here. So there's a huge population of people that just stay here for the weekend or for a couple days or what have you. And so it just gets busy with locals that are staying. It's kind of like Lake Louise because I think it's called the Fairmont Hotel that's with Lake Louise. Lots of people stay there and it just gets so busy in that area. Okay, so I've made it to the back of the Emerald Lake Loop. You can see back there that mountain. Yeah, so we're gonna hike up to that mountain. We've got a little bit further away from the lake now that we're up at the back. So you can see here, I'm at the very back, almost in the dead center middle of the back of the loop of Emerald Lake, and I'm heading towards the mountains in the back. There's a little trail here that I'm taking, and this is called Emerald Basin Trail. It's a point-to-point trail. It's about 2.9 kilometers one way, so it is going to be about 5.8 kilometers in total. So just know that if you go in, you have to come out the exact same way. So it almost adds another 6 kilometers onto the loop that we're going to be doing already with the Emerald Lake loop. So I'm just making my way to the back here. Very flat terrain until I get towards the mountain, where I'm going to make a pretty steep incline up. You can hear I was playing a little bit of music. I know sometimes it's disturbing or disruptive, but this is a very popular area for black bears. And so I usually play a little bit of music if I'm off by myself, just to kind of help scare the bears off before, I have an encounter with them. Just trying to be safe here. One of the big things about hiking solo is being a noisy hiker. So I'm just always taking safety into my first consideration. But you can see here that we're doing the in and out trail of Emerald Basin Trail. And the trail is leading away from Emerald Lake, which is almost directly behind us at this point. And we're just taking the trail along some scattered pines until I find my way up to right here, the point where I'm going to get onto the mountain. So we're going to be going through the forest all the way up the mountainside. There are a bit of steep areas, nothing too crazy. But just be prepared, because if you're doing Emerald Lake Loop, it's actually very flat and it's a very easy trail to do, although the hike itself around the trail of the loop trail around the lake is only about 5.2 kilometers. It's long, but it is pretty easy to do, and I see lots of people out there with strollers, so it's definitely family friendly, very accessible, and because there's the lodge there too. So you can see I'm making my way up the side of the mountain. I'm up pretty far now. We're up a little bit higher above the tree line, so we can start seeing that Emerald Basin that we're getting towards. And just keep making my way up the mountainside here. So you can see I just came off of a bit of a steep area. So that happens a lot. It's only a short trail up the mountainside. So like I said, it's about 2.9 kilometers. So part of it, we go a little bit of steepness, and then here we got some flat land through a more forested area, and then an incline again, and then some flat land. And that's pretty common when you're doing mountain hikes like this anyway, where we're kind of on the mountain side and we hike up towards more of the edge, and then it flattens out, and then we incline a bit more. So we're in that nice forested area. You can see all the beautiful pines on this relatively flat land. There is a couple in front of me. They're really nice. We've kind of leapfrogged each other a few times because they're also stopping to take pictures, and I'm stopping to take pictures, and then I'm also trying to video record. So it's kind of funny. So we're trying to give each other some space. I didn't want to get them too much on the camera, of course, for their own privacy. So sometimes they just appear a little bit in the distance, but really lovely couple. I've also been super fortunate because usually I'll play some music to help scare off the bears, because they are very prevalent around here. But that couple ahead of me, every now and then they make some loud noises and stuff trying to scare the bears. I'm like, okay, so this works really well for me too. But yeah, so really nice people. And of course, like everyone I've had encounters with while I'm hiking, they're super excited just to be outside in nature and doing the trails like I am. So they're always so pleasant, and it's always a really nice interaction. So there you hear me say we're 4.2 kilometers in. That is including the bit of the lake loop that we did on our way in from the parking lot.
See the falls down there.
So you hear the water rushing. So there are a lot of streams up in Emerald Basin. We're going to see them when we get up there. We got a little bit more to go. And once we get up there, you're going to see, I think there's about 5 streams, and they all run down. They're all glacier fed, of course, from the mountains off in the distance and the glaciers off in the distance. They're all glacier fed. They run down, they connect in the middle, and they all go down and feed into Emerald Lake. So I'm starting to get closer and closer to the back here. In the land, the terrain that I'm traversing on now is flattened out. There's not much more steepness. Some of it's, you can see like little tiny inclines here and there, and that's just because the mountainous terrain itself. But that hike up the side of the mountain is over now, and now we're just
5 kilometers in.
So there it is, 5 kilometers in. So that there in the back is where we hiked from. And this is where we're hiking towards, the Emerald Basin. So I just did a quick cut to get us there quicker. Heading towards the basin, just going in deeper here. I mean, the view just really speaks for itself. I don't really have much to say. I'm stunned just watching this over again. I'm really taking my time here with the camera, letting you get the nice panorama view. I usually like to do some jump cuts just to get us quicker, but I think this really warrants the long shots like this, just so you can see how beautiful it is.
5.4 kilometers in.
All right, so you heard me.
Almost at the end. It's gonna keep going down this way.
5.4 kilometers in. We're nearing the end of this little trail. Oh, this guy up here, he actually passed me on the way up with his dog. I'm just gonna tilt the camera so I don't end up getting him on it.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, right?
He said something pleasant. I was just responding to him. Something about the views being beautiful.
All right, you heard him. It's beautiful. Let's get down here. So it's barely 5.5 kilometers in right now.
You hear that water rushing.
Wow. Give a nice panorama of where we are. Ooh, that looks like a good looking spot. Nice. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. This is insane! Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. I can't stop laughing. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Oh my goodness.
So that rock I was actually standing on with the GoPro and showing you that river, the rushing water that's flowing down into Emerald Lake. I actually sat up there for a little bit and had my lunch and really enjoyed the views and the sounds of the water. There's a little bit of a breeze coming off that rushing water, so it's quite nice because it's super hot today. But what I'm going to do, there's not much of a trail in this area now. There's some areas that are a little bit trekked so you can kind of see where people have been. But I'm going to try to go as far back in the basin as possible just to get some more views and get up closer to these mountains up in the distance. It is a high avalanche area. There was warning signs at the beginning of the trail. So just be cautious about that. You can tell by the rocky terrain and the flowing water that's rushing, right? A lot of times we see just some very calm streams, but this is rushing water coming off of the mountains in the back. So of course we have glaciers nearby that are feeding these streams, but also it's a very rocky area because of the high avalanches that happen here, the high level of avalanches that happen here. So just be cautious, of course. At this point, as you could probably tell from earlier when I was on the stone overlooking the stream, I'm just stunned. I'm absolutely stunned at the beauty here. It reminds me a little bit of Stanley Glacier Park where I was at, the Stanley Glacier Trail that I was doing. It's kind of the same area, right? Like an open basin with the mountains on either side and the rock beds in the middle that we're traversing through. It's a similar idea. Okay, so what I was doing, you saw those streams up there feeding down. There's about 5 of them feeding down into Emerald Lake here. So what I did is I made my way back down the mountain. So that was up at Emerald Basin. I took Emerald Basin Trail. It's 2.9 kilometers up, but it's in and out. So double that is going to be 5.8. And you can see I just sped ahead so we didn't have to see the trek all the way back down. I'm back down to Emerald Lake. So at this point, I'm almost directly at the back of the lake, right about halfway through the loop itself that goes right around the lake. So it starts near the parking lot and finishes on a really cool bridge over by the lodging area. Just trying to get you some beautiful views of the lake. So you see that behind us? That's where we just came from. We were up there in those mountains. So of course it wouldn't be a hike with TrailTrekBeck if I didn't go for a dip in the lake. So here I am. I filmed this one on my phone actually because usually I do my little TikTok and Instagram reels from the footage on my phone. So this is what I have here. You can see me. There's some kayakers going by. That is like really ideal. Like as soon as I go in, the kayakers come by. I'm like, oh, how picturesque looking. But this lake is a little chilly, but really not so bad. I mean, I was in Flow Lake a couple days ago and that was absolutely freezing. This was really nice, and it was so nice to come down from Emerald Basin where it was a very open area and very hot. I was sweating like disgustingly crazy, so I had to go for a dip here. And now you can see I'm back on the loop trail on Emerald Lake Loop. I'm following my way down the other side, and I get to dry off in this beautiful heat and sunshine. So I've been doing about 11.5K right now. So 11.5K.
Just at the back of Emerald Lake. We're coming up on the opposite side soon.
So this stream is actually one of the ones we saw up in Emerald Basin, where it was coming off of the mountains, and now it's funneling down here into Emerald Lake. So those mountains off to the left more were the ones that we were actually just up in, seeing where these lakes were, where these little streams were for starting. So that's pretty cool. So I'm getting to the other side of the lake now. So as I follow the rest of the loop back towards the beginning, I always like to give a little bit of information about the area, if one, I can find it, and two, if I know it's accurate or not. So I did, like I always like to do, some research on Emerald Lake and the area here. And I do that before I come out to hike because I like to know the area that I'm immersing myself into. I like to understand the area, why things are the way they are. That way when I'm here, one, I can appreciate it so much more. And I really think it just heightens my experience. So you can see these beautiful views of the lake. Of course, I'm going to try to get up close. But you see this bright green hue. It's absolutely stunning. And it comes from rock particles in the water that melts off the glaciers. So this, what I've found out, is mostly due to powdered rock particles in the glacier meltwater, which are also known as glacier flour. So that's actually what we see giving off the green light. It's actually reflecting and giving the green light. So you see this absolutely gorgeous color, and it's really just a natural side effect of nature. The only thing, the level of this glacier flower and the hue and the bright color, the vibrance of it that we see, it can actually change from day to day. So the shade of the lake actually varies according to the weather, the time of the year, and even the time of the day. But luckily for us, we're here in August, and this color is most vibrant during the summer. And it does its freezing in the winter, of course. So when you're here in the winter, the color's not as vibrant. But in the summer, it is. And we're here and we really get to enjoy it. So we're almost near the end here. You can see that the lodges are coming up. And this is the residential area. So these lodges that we're going to see, I'm kind of passing through them a little bit. I videoed it a little bit so you can see. But there's a ton of people staying here, and there's a ton of people walking around. So I just kind of got a few shots so you can see. But the lodges get very popular. You can rent them and stay here, which I would love to do. But here I'm at the end of Emerald Lake. I'm crossing the big famous bridge that we see lots of pictures taken on and taken from, and just getting that gorgeous view of Emerald Lake and the surrounding mountains. It's just absolutely stunning. Again, you can see how vibrant that hue is, and it's natural too. It's absolutely gorgeous. Again, you can see how busy it gets with people all around. But as always, I'm going to leave you with some pictures and some stats about the trail. So my total length today was 14.92 kilometers. Now, 5.2 kilometers was the Emerald Lake Loop that I did. And then 2.9 with a total of 5.8 kilometers was the Emerald Basin Trail. And it's 2.9 one way, but it is a point to point. So altogether, I did 14.92. I did a little bit more because I ventured off further into the back of Emerald Basin just to get some more views. And my total elevation gain was 626 meters. And that's just because I went up the side of the mountain to get up to the basin. And my moving time today was 4 hours and 12 minutes. But again, that's going up the basin. So if you have the extra time to do it, I highly, highly recommend taking Emerald Basin Trail up. It's absolutely stunning. And for the extra 5.8 kilometers, it's not too bad. So as always, thank you so much for joining me and keep on trekking.